mic for anybody who wants to express themselves. Welcome to the show, my people. We're gonna start in English because we're talking about Kenya. My people, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, my people. Let's turn off the music and get this show popping. My people, thank you so much for being here. Your favorite AUSARES, Louise Uwacu in the building. My people, today we're going to start in Kenya. And then we're also going to talk about Congo and Rwanda as well. We're going to start in English because we're talking about Kenya and a little bit of KiSwahili. And then we're going to continue in French because, as you know, Kenya has gone into Haiti. Oh, my goodness. And then we're going to end in Kiswahili and Kinyarwanda. You know what I mean? So today, my people, the title of the show, Kenya is not Rwanda. Kenyan people are not cowards. Haiti, US Africa relations, and then we're going to talk about Amatora Ikagamistani. That's the fake elections, the cinema, the theater of elections that is currently happening in Kagamistan, Rwanda. My people. So thank you so much for being here. Teo Ndagijiranda, ndakwemera cyane, I see you. Thank you so much for being here, my people. Okay, let's get this show started. All right, my people. So we are gonna start in Kenya. So in case you've been living under or somewhere else, or you're preoccupied by other things, or you don't know, you don't care about Africa, well, let me tell you what happened because we care. Even though we are international Africans, we're living so far away from Africa. I'm in Vancouver. The background that you see is Vancouver, Canada, but still, we care about Africa. We care about our fellow Africans, and we care what is happening back home in Africa. So we're going to talk about that for our Canadian people, for our fellow Canadians, North Americans, Americans who may not know what is happening in Africa. We're going to talk about that. We're going to be the bridge, my people. So, and then of course, our Haitian people in Canada, you know, there's a huge Haitian community in Canada. We're going to talk to them as well in French because now relationships, I'm concerned about relationships between Africa, Haiti, Africa, and the rest of the world, Africa and Canada. So we are most definitely gonna talk about that because when we are informed, when we share knowledge and information, there could be no injustice, there could be no oppression. When everybody has the same knowledge, same information, or is sharing knowledge, sharing information, the truth will eventually win. All right, my people. So I have been talking about Kenya. I had talked about Kenya and I had warned people that it was going to be a disaster. The intervention of Kenya in Haiti was going to be a disaster. I had warned people that it is Kenya that is targeted for distraction by the international destroyers, the World Bank, the IMF. You know, the IMF, I call it the international motherfucker. So, the unrest And the problems that you see happening in Kenya have partially happened, of course, first and foremost, because of their leadership, but also because of these international institutions and organizations which will not give Africa peace, which continue to sabotage Africa's independence, Africa's sovereignty, and continue to seek to impoverish Africans. So now Kenya has been attacked on multiple fronts by the United Nations, by taking Kenya's attention away from its home issues, taking Kenya's police into Haiti. That's the United Nations. But who is behind the United Nations? Colonizers, destroyers, predators. You know what it is. And then the World Bank and the IMF, which are imposing economic policies, which are penalizing the local people, the politician, the population, the people, by taxing and taxing and taxing. You know what I mean? And then also by the local politicians. Local politicians, instead of serving their own people's interest, they prefer to collaborate with their own people's oppressors, my people. So it's a problem with many, 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 many angles. Now, let me start by also addressing like the symbolism. I want to talk to you guys about something that is so symbolic, and then I want to also suggest a solution for Kenya, for Kenya, and for us people who are in the diaspora. I want to suggest a solution. So, huge symbol over here that I saw. Huge, huge symbol. Yo, the lights are killing me. Huge symbol right here. When the president of Kenya, His Excellency Ruto, soon to be former president of Kenya, standing next to soon to be former president of the USA. May I remind people of this famous quote. My people, I don't even know who said this famous quote, but it is so true. If you remember who said it, please remind me, right? But there is this famous quote that says that to be an enemy of the US is, of course, dangerous, but to be a friend is fatal. Fatal, as in you're gonna die, oh. Ataria kufa. And then there's also another quote that says that he who has them as friends does not need any enemies. So I want to talk about the symbolism behind this picture that I notice, and then we can continue talking about what we're talking about. The symbolism in this picture, what I noticed when I was observing this thing, is that when this was actually happening, Ruto's wife was on the other side, on the side of Biden's wife. She had kind of made a mistake. And then she had to be the one to skip around and go on the other side and be on the side of Ruto. And he did not make space for her on the red carpet. You know, you can see how she's not included in the red carpet, you know. So when I saw this, I was like, this is a very bad omen for him and for Kenya. But at the same time, it's symbolically very significant, but also it's kind of sending a message. Anyways, I'm reading a message within it, symbolically speaking, because as you may or may not know, the red carpet, what is the symbol of the red carpet? One of the symbols of the red carpet is the blood, bloodline. Some of these major people, when they're walking on the red carpet, when they're doing the whole red carpet thing, There is a symbolism of blood behind it. And when they conquer, it's a bloodline. It's a bloodline going through so many countries, conquering, and wherever they walk, it's a path of blood. You understand? The major colonizers, oppressors, and enslavers, they leave a trail of blood wherever they go, right? So, bloodline, blood symbolism. And then when they invited Ruto to be part of the whole movement, when he was crowned, treated as a house nigger, allowed to be in the house, in the White House, and to walk on their blood carpet, he did not make space for his wife, and his wife is not included. And his wife, the African woman, the foundation of the nation, is excluded. Does not make space for her, is excluded as an omen, as a symbol, as something that is predicting for what is happening, what is about to happen in the future. It's like the blood that is being spilled by the president of Kenya, the blood that is being spilled by the president of the USA. Ruto's wife is not part of that. Only Ruto is going to be held accountable for that. My people, are we together or are we together? Hmm. So, today's title talking about Kenya is not Rwanda. I salute Kenya. I salute Kenya so much. I congratulate you. I I don't even know. I don't even know which words that I can tell to Kenyans to express my appreciation for the way that the Kenyan people are such a responsible citizen, a citizen who are standing up to dictatorship from their politicians. I just love it. I appreciate it. And I thank you so much, Kenya. You are the future of Africa. You are the future of a free Africa, a responsible citizenship which refuses to be oppressed, to be taken advantage of, which refuses to be sold into slavery by your leaders, because this has been the problem. The leaders, they get elected, they know perfectly what is the problem. The president of Kenya cannot pretend that he never knew what was the problem before he got into office. He knew perfectly what was the problem. He talked about it during his campaign. He talked about the taxes. He talked about the price of living being so expensive and how he was going to correct it. On top of that, he was part of the previous government. He had been in office already for 10 years. So he can't even say that he didn't know all the things that the previous government did. He was part of it because he was part of the government. So he can't even blame it on the previous administration because he was the previous administration. All right. So to see a nation, Kenyan citizens rising up and defending their rights, I love it. I salute you. I love you for it. Oh my goodness. I support you. Thank you so much for showing the whole world how it's done, the entire continent of Africa how it's done. This is happening in many countries. Many leaders have taken advantage of their population, of course, in Rwanda, but Rwandan people have chosen to be cowards and to praise the dictatorship instead of challenging the dictatorship and kicking out the dictatorship. Rwandan people do not have a culture of resistance towards oppression, but Kenyans have a great culture of resistance towards oppression. Kenyan people had to fight for their independence, Kenyan people had to fight against the British, against the Arab enslavers in order to build a great country, a democratic country. And today they are also fighting against their own local oppressors who are in collaboration with international, the IMF, the international so they are collaborating in to oppress our people. Whenever you see the international praising a leader, saluting a leader like they have done with the Kagamistan in Rwanda, you know that leader is not working for the interest of the people. They're working for the interest of the oppressors, the colonizers, and the enslavers. So we salute the Kenyan people for standing up to oppression, standing up to the colonizers and the enslavers, and saying no. You are inspiring the entire continent of Africa. You are the future of Africa. What you have done will inspire even people over here in Canada, because let me tell you something. Even the politicians of Canada have lied to their own people. Even them, they come up with solutions on how to tax their own people, take away their freedom more and more, even in Canada. And then the leaders of Africa, when Kenyan people, youth people, when they tell them, oh, we are hungry, don't tax us, don't overtax us anymore, their leaders tell them, oh, take the Kenyan passport, travel abroad, go work abroad, go come in Canada, come to work abroad, right? Okay, so they're telling you to come and be a slave in Canada, be taxed. You know how Canada be also taxing, and then when you take your money back home, they will tax it again. You will never enjoy your money, you will never even enjoy your country. And then you're coming in Canada, in the diaspora, to work what kind of jobs? Slave jobs. Because who has a good job in this country? So they want you to go abroad and be slaves abroad, send money back home that they will be taxing and taxing. And even when you help your own family back home, they are taxing them, taxing them, taxing them. And then while you are slaving abroad, which is what many Africans do, which is what we're doing in abroad, we, the diaspora living in Canada, living in Europe, all over abroad. Hey, my people, I'm gonna tell you what's happening. Okay, don't allow your leaders, your politicians, to lie to you that it's so much better to go to Canada and Europe and live over there. No, man, we are slaving you. Okay, there are some things that are better. Okay, there are some things that are better. We're not gonna be talking about how we're slaving when we came here voluntarily or as refugees, but I'm just letting you know that it's not as good as they pretend it to be. You know what I mean? People over here also have their own issues, and like I'm telling you, even Canada is getting destroyed by its own politicians, and the solution that they have is to increase their prices, their taxes. You know what I mean? So the idea that African leaders would tell their own people to go abroad, it's not a solution. It's not a solution. I have a solution for you. And then while they're abroad, while Africans are abroad slaving, because nobody even have some great jobs. How many people have great jobs, man? Not many. People are doing some really, really hard jobs, and that money is, it's not easy to make this money, yo. While Africans are slaving in the West, let's not even talk about the Arab countries. Africans get abused in the Arab countries. There's no successful Africans in the Arab countries. So it's even worse than Europe and America and Canada, right? We've seen Kenyan people struggle. We've seen a Kenyan lady denounce how she was treated in the Arab countries. You know how they treat black people. They treat them much, much, much worse than how black people are treated in Europe, America, and Canada, right? Mm-hmm. While Africans are slaving all over abroad, let's not even talk about China, because China is also enslaving Africans through debt. One of the problems in Kenya is debt. And who has enslaved Kenya through debt? China. They do it on purpose to give you debts that you can't pay so that they can come and steal your natural resources. What the Europeans, the Arabs have done, even the Chinese will do. Even the Chinese are trying to do to Africans. So Africans have no friends. They have to think about themselves, and they have to put themselves first, and they have to think about local problems that will, local solutions that will benefit local people first and foremost. Every other nation is putting itself first. In people in Canada, conservatives, liberals, they're fighting against each other. In the United States, Democrats, Republicans fighting against each other. And what are they always saying to each other? We need to put ourselves first, America first. All right. So Kenya and Kenyans first, Africa and Africans first in Africa. So don't let your leaders lie to you that you should go abroad. That's where it's happening. No, because even while you're abroad, slaving, making that money that is so hard to come by, who goes to Africa to buy your land, buy your properties, invest in your country, own stuff in your country, and then you are renting from those Europeans and those Americans and those Chinese who, while you were busy leaving your own country because your politicians are liars and they don't work for you. They work for our fellow enslavers, our common enslavers and the colonizers. So while you were busy slaving in other people's lands, those people from those lands, they have come to your land, they have come to Kenya and taken over Kenya and bought Kenya using their money, which is superior to your money. And now, by the time you go back home, you find your country is owned by who? By those people who are slaving you abroad. My people, it's a trap. It's a trap. So this is why Africans need to fix their own problems at home. And this is why they need leaders who are looking out for Africans first and foremost, who are putting Kenyans first, who are putting Africans first. This is why all these dictators, house niggers, collaborators of our oppressors, all of them must go. And this is why I admire Kenyans so much, because we have an oppressor, we have an oppressive regime, we have a criminal dictatorship in Rwanda, which has been plundering and killing in Congo. But Rwandans are cowards and they are still enslaved, and no one is standing up to the enslavers and their house Negroes. My people, this is why I salute you, Kenya. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kenyan youth, Kenyan people, for standing up. So let's end on the solution that I would suggest, my people. What is the solution? How is Kenya going to be free from the United Nations, from the World Bank robbers, and from the International Mother Earth, the IMF? How are we going to be free from that, my people? So I say that the solution is us. At the same time as we talk about problems, at the same time we talk about solutions, I think that one of the great solutions that Africa and Africans have is for the diaspora, is for Black America, is for African Canadians, African Americans, all these Africans in Europe to invest back home, to invest in Kenya, to invest in Gen Z. My people, I hereby say that when I become rich, because I am planning to become richer. Isn't that why we come abroad? Huh? See, we'll go abroad because we are going to become rich. We go abroad, we are refugees. We are running away from our own criminal dictatorship that will not allow us to survive in our own country. So we go abroad because we get treated better abroad, especially when you come from criminal dictatorships like Rwanda, right? The only way to be successful is to run away from the country. So I'm saying that all of us who are admiring and saluting the Kenyan youth, even though we may not be Kenyans, but we are Africans, so we should support Kenyan people and the Kenyan youth. with our money. I am saying vote with your money. Vote with your money the same way that we have decided that we will vote with our money and boycott the criminal dictatorship of Afghanistan in Rwanda. The same way that if we're recognizing that Kenya is not Rwanda and Kenyan people are not cowards and we are supporting Kenyan people, then we must vote also with our money the entire international African community. Then we must vote with our money. And when this thing settles down, when they have a good leaders, then all the diaspora, all the rich Africans must go and invest in Gen Z in Kenya or Gen Waze. I even saw Gen Z na Gen Waze. Gen Z, Gen Waze, the Kenyan people, the Kenyan nation, which have demonstrated this excellent level of freedom, excellent level of responsible citizens, my people. So we need all the rich Africans over here to take their money to Kenya and invest in Kenya, invest in Kenyans, invest in this new generation so that all those jobs that the government has been incapable of creating, because the government doesn't create jobs, jobs get created by people, entrepreneurs, and then the government comes for their taxes. So it's up to business people, entrepreneurs, creators to take their money and invest in this young generation so this young generation can be enriched. We need Kenyans to become rich so that they can become even less and less like target, the less and less. When you're rich, when you have a strong middle class, it's even more harder to be oppressed. It's even more harder to become a slave. So we need to strengthen the foundation and the Kenyan middle class and all this Gen Z. They're so smart, they're so brilliant, they are educated. So they need for the diaspora and all the rich Africans internationally or any other good rich people to invest in them, to take those jobs, to go and create those jobs in Kenya, to be the ones to be investing in this society, because you see that they deserve it, because they're so wonderful and they're so amazing and we love them and we support them. So, my people, I'm calling upon you. Let's vote with our money. Kenya is not Rwanda. Kenyan people are not cowards. Kenyan people are so civilized and they are responsible citizens. So let us support them with the money. Because the money is the problem, right? And politicians just taxing, right? So they need jobs, they need to create jobs, they need wealth, they need money flowing to Kenya. All these young people who are so brilliant, who are so educated, they need all the people over here to be the ones who are giving them jobs. And this is how we will free them. This is how we can help them to free themselves. This is how we also free ourselves from the World Bank and the International Mother Earth and the UN and all those people, when we create wealth among Africans, within Africans, for Africans. All right, my people. So that's what I had to say. And then before we go, I can show you, what is happening a little bit in Kenya. Let's visit my Twitter for a minute so that I can show you some of the things that I had reposted that are happening in Kenya that I'm admiring and loving so much. Okay, listen to this.
Criminals. These are the people who are in power in Kenya, in Africa. We cannot continue to be ruled like this. Being ruled by sick people, by mad people, by liars and thieves and criminals. These are the people who are in power in Kenya, in Africa. That is the situation we are living in. That is kind of life we are living in. That's why people are dying and nobody cares. Poor people are suffering, nobody cares. So I don't know what's the role of the government. I don't know. I want to know today, what's the role of the government? To protect the people or to kill the people or to make the people suffer? I think we have failed our people. The government has failed. Everybody has failed. We have also failed ourselves. I don't know. My concerns will not allow me to keep silent. And at any time, at any moment, I don't know whether this is going to come up anywhere, but we must have this debate. We must have this conversation. We cannot continue living in fear. I see a lot of fear in this country. A lot of fear in the courts. Just yesterday, we saw a magistrate who was shot by a police officer. I want to speak, my dear friends. I want to speak because when you try to tell me to keep silent, my heart is burning. You know, it's burning because of this country. Because for 60 years, we have been living like we are not human beings, like we are half human beings. We are considered like children of a lesser God. Now, this cannot continue. It cannot continue in any way. We are ruled by a minority that does not care for the interests of the majority. Politicians are liars and thieves.
My people, you see this? I love it. Courage, balls. You know, the the um, the government, he's asking a very important question. What is the role of the government? What is the whole idea of taxation? The role of the government, we the people. The government has forgotten its role. The government has forgotten that the government is an employee of the people, and the people are the employers. This is why the government gets paid by the people's taxes, by the people's money. So the people pay money, their taxes, so that the government, their employees, can work for them, and while the people are busy working for themselves, making money, taking care of their business, they don't have the time to go and also run the government. So they hire politicians to look out for your business while you're busy taking care of your business, and then you pay a little bit to your politicians because they do a good job. But now imagine you have an employee, you are the one who is working, who is paying the employee, and then the employee is asking for a raise. This is the tax issue, right? The employee is asking for a raise, and then you as the employer, you're like, no, I'm not giving you a raise. I already pay you too much. What do you do with all the money that I pay you? And then your employee has the audacity to start killing you, to start shooting you, to start imprisoning you because he's asking for a raise that he does not deserve. And you are saying, no, you are my employee. I will fire you. I will fire you instead of giving you a raise when all the money that I pay you, you misuse. This is what is happening in Kenya. This is what I'm saying, that a responsible citizenship understand their roles. So they are like, no, we will give no more money to our employers because they squander the money, that our employees, because they squander the money, and then they're coming for more money. So the government, instead of understanding that they're the employees, they come in as if they're the boss of the people. They start brutalizing the people. They start abusing the people. They forget their role. They think now they're the boss of the people because they have the army, but even the army gets paid with the people's money. So even the army is an employee of the people, and the army should be reminded that even the army works for the people. So this army, which is shooting people instead of protecting them, the police, instead of protecting Kenyan people, shooting them, working for the politicians, it's outrageous. And this is why the people are angry, and this is why they can't stand it anymore, and this is why they want to kick their politicians out, because the politicians have forgotten who they serve, my people. So Kenya hypocrisy sends the police to Haiti and then sends the military to its own people. Oh my goodness, I need to show you more. I need to show you more. Ah, unacceptable, my people. Unacceptable. So let's see a little bit more. So all Africans are admiring Kenyans. This is African Hub posting talking about Kenyans are a different breed. No human being has ever smoked tear gas. They are throwing tear gases to them. This guy takes the tear gas and then takes it over. And then another flagrant thing that happened. Look who came out to speak. The religious leaders. All this time, the religious leaders had been silent. And then when they came out to speak, what are they stating? They're trying to appease the people. They are on the side of the oppressors. They are on the side of the government. My people. And this is where even the spiritual leaders, the religious leaders, let's not even talk about spiritual leaders because there's no spirituality in them. If they were spiritual, they would stand on the side of the oppressed. But no, these are religious leaders, Christians and Muslims. Look at that spiritual colonization, which has always been part of the oppressors in Africa. The church, the Islamic, they have practiced slavery. They have enslaved Africans. They have kidnapped Africans and used them in for free. And they are still oppressing them. And so they are not the ones who are going to teach Africans how to be free, because this is part of the spiritual colonization. And of course, religious leaders would support a government which is oppressing people, which is taxing people. Because, my people, let's not forget, how do religious leaders survive? Religious leaders also survive by the taxes from the people. Even these religious leaders, they live off the people. They live off the taxes of the people. So, of course, they would support these governments which are living from the taxes of the people, which are seeking to tax the people even more. Because if it was up to the religious, we would also be their slaves, and all the money we make, we would give that to their religions. So it's not surprising that the religious leaders come out and they're supporting the oppressors. Huh? My people. So the youth in Kenya, they're saying that the bill is gone, but now Ruto must resign. Usually back in the days, when people used to pay their taxes, for example, in the Kinyarwanda culture, when you go to pay the taxes to the king, people go to pay the taxes to the king. It's about when you had cultivated your land and then you have a harvest, and then some of your harvest, you're going to take your harvest. First of all, you're going to satisfy your own family, you're going to satisfy yourself. And then if you have something left, you're going to take something out of your harvest and you're going to go pay tribute to the king. That was the tax, right? You volunteered, you know. The Kenyan government was trying to do even the opposite. They need to control all the information. They need to surveillance their population. They need to surveillance your harvest. And then when you harvest, then they even take whatever they want from your harvest and give you the remaining of it, as if you're not the one who has been working for your harvest. But the way it used to work in the African culture is that you work, you're free, you're an independent. We are the original capitalists, and everybody gets you reap what you sow, right? And then once you have your harvest, if you have something on the side left, that's when you take something to your king, your chief, you pay tribute, you pay those taxes. But the idea that they will come to collect taxes from you, having done nothing from you, and they decide how many taxes that they should collect from you, that is completely anti-African. That is the colonizers' mentality, because the colonizers and the enslavers, now when they come to Africa to collect taxes, to collect slaves, they don't care. They don't care. They're coming in there as colonizers, oppressors, enslavers. They don't care. They're coming in there taxing you 100%. What was slavery about? Slavery was about kidnapping African people, making them work, and then once they have worked, the government of those times, of those days, of those places would then proceed to take 100% of their revenues. That is 100% taxation. Taxation at 100%. That is slavery. So you would wonder, what is the percentage of taxation that is not slavery? The percentage of taxation that is not slavery is the one where a sovereign people, a free people decide. Like the Kenyan people right now, the Kenyan constitution says that the people of Kenya are the sovereign. So the people of Kenya are the king and the queen. Unlike some countries out here where they still have kings and queens and some monarch is the sovereign. Like, for example, in Canada, the Europeans came to Canada, they took over Canada, they colonized Canada, they killed off the local people, the natives, and so they take over the country. They can tax the land because anybody who comes to Canada, these are new people, newcomers, these are not native Canadians. So the colonizers and the conquerors of Canada can tax the land in Canada to all the other new Canadians that are coming in. But in Kenya, who's going to tax the land? Because the land belongs to the people and they have been living off the land for thousands of years and they own the land. And when the colonizers and the enslavers came to Kenya, Kenyans fought for independence. They fought for their own sovereignty. And now the Kenyan people are the sovereign. So the land belongs to the people. The government has no right, no authority. No one has the authority to tax the Kenyan people on their land because they are free and because they are sovereign. So a government, the role of the government is to go into office and to manage the people's business because the people are busy managing their own businesses, and from their businesses, that's where the government gets their income. But now the government has completely forgotten what is their job, what is their role, and they're acting as if they are the boss of the people, and they're kidding their bosses, their real boss. The government, the employee, has killed the employer, the people, because of a beef over how much the people should pay to the employee. Can you imagine? Like, things are upside down. And this is why we admire so much and we love so much a responsible nation, a responsible citizenship, like the Kenyan people who have stood up and say no. So now they're asking for their president to resign because what he has done to them is abuse beyond thought. So I also am admiring the work of Larry Mado. He's doing a great job, even though he works for CNN. CNN, we know CNN, but Larry Mado is a Kenyan and he's doing a good job. He's risking his life. He's going out there, reporting, showing us the images, exposing everything. And this is also something that I love about the Kenyan people. There's so many people also have cameras. This, it's not just CNN doesn't have a monopoly. So many people, independent medias all over the place, so many of them have been exposing what is happening. They have been filming and broadcasting and making so much noise. We love it, we admire it. And Larry Mado has interviewed the youth. He's not interviewing all these corrupted politicians. He's actually on the street getting the voice of the people. He is giving the voiceless a voice. He's exposing everything that is happening. I love it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the Kenyans who have stood up and who are standing up for freedom. We salute you. We support you. We love you. You are the future of Africa. This responsible citizenship, this is the future of Africa. A people who are not afraid of their government, who remind the people, who remind the government their responsibility. That is the future of Africa. So let me end on this one, because as you know, we have been talking about boycott, us as Rwandans, international Rwandans, because we have a criminal dictatorship in Rwanda. The solution that we have found for Rwanda is to boycott the criminal dictatorship of the Kagamistan in Rwanda, which is killing and plundering, in Congo, which is causing chaos in the entire region. So boycott is our solution. So boycott everything made in Rwanda, boycott everything, visit Rwanda, Rwanda Air, boycott everything Rwanda, boycott everything the Kagamistan. And so, in support with our fellow Africans of Kenya, they now also have a boycott. They now also have a boycott. So watch out for their boycott and also support their boycott. So let me tell you, let me let this young, beautiful Kenyan lady tell you for herself what she has discovered, and then we're gonna end on that. And so support our fellow Africans, especially our fellow Africans of Kenya who are fighting for freedom, for liberation. Support their boycott. And as I said, one of the solution also support this Gen Z and Gen Y, Gen all Kenyans, all great Kenyans who are standing up for freedom. Support them with your money wherever we are in the diaspora. When they resolve this thing, we must go and invest in them, invest in this generation of wonderful, amazing, responsible Africans, smart, brilliant Kenyans. All the money from the rich diaspora is going to have to go to such a generation, such a people, such a nation. This is the nation that deserves our money. So, you know, I'm about to be rich, right? I'm about to be rich, my people. I'm about to be rich. And when I become rich, I will support Gen Z with my money. All right? Thank you so much. Let's listen. In the meantime, we're boycotting. Whatever they say that we boycott because we're not
Because I'm not
supporting
going
the
for the
oppressors.
protest, I decided, because
Let's start here.
this is the reason why the people feel currently as if this government is self-serving. I've had this list in my camera roll for 3 days, and because I'm not going for the protest, I decided, let me go through the list. I go through it comprehensively. I find the MPs who are the owners or who are affiliated with these businesses and the constituencies which they represent, because the people who they represent need to know, this money that we're giving them, we're going to support their businesses. They don't want to support us. They don't want to support our financial needs, even.
So she's pretty much exposing all the MPs, all the politicians, and all their businesses, and asking the people to boycott all these businesses that belong to politicians, because politicians are oppressing the people, but they have all these businesses, so they want support from the people. The people now want to stop supporting the politicians' businesses. So she has gone through the list because they take advantage, they get the money from the government, they become rich, and then they go into government to tax people. So the people now have decided to boycott a lot of businesses that belong to all these politicians. So she is exposing how much that these politicians own in Kenya, and she's exposing the list of all their businesses so that the people can boycott their businesses. And this is also what we've been saying in the case of Rwanda, right? Boycott all the businesses that belong to the Kagamistan, which is pretty much every business, because the Kagamistan in Rwanda owns 90% of Rwanda, right? So that's why we boycott everything, because the Kagamistan owns everything. In Kenya, it's a little bit of different. So you got to know which list and which businesses are owned by these corrupted politicians so that they can join the boycott list. Okay, now pay attention. Let me let her speak. It's 2 minutes. Listen to it.
Don't want to support us. They don't want to support our financial needs, even though we're giving money to their businesses. In the middle of making my list, I found this company called Amaco Insurance. It's an insurance company. And then I found this article. It's a very interesting article. And as you can see, these 3 companies listed, which are also on the boycott list, are linked to our honorable president. They are linked to him either through his friends, through the first lady, or his daughter, Charlene Ruto. And I'll tell you why I want to talk about these companies. Western Hotel, you can see the shareholders. Now let's pay attention to the last part, to the very last part, government contracts bagged. Higher, bags millions every year from conference facilities and accommodations paid for by government institutions. Amaco Insurance, that led me to this whole article, bags millions every year from tenders to offer insurance cover for several counties and government institutions. The last one, Martini Limited, millions bagged from leasing of at least 170 apartments to police services. I'm not refuting the fact that the government probably needs these services, but the problem is that money is coming out of my pocket. The money is coming out of your pocket. So I have the right to question where the money is going. It's coming out of my pocket, it's coming out of your pocket, to go and pay people who are closely affiliated to the government, which makes it a bit easier for them to get a hold of these tenders. As the taxes go high, we have not seen any progress. The taxes did not start going high this year. They started last year. We have not seen any progress.
My people, so you have heard it from the people themselves, and this is what we're supporting: a great responsible citizenship which is capable of understanding their responsibilities and questioning their leaders. My people, this is what we're supporting. So support Kenyans, support Gen Z, support Gen Z, support any great Kenyans that you can find, so that they may be able to free themselves from this madness, from their corrupted politicians. All right, my people, thank you so much for being with You and I Talk Show. We're going to move into French and keep talking about it, my people. Thank you so much for being here. La famille, on est là ou on est là? Alors, aujourd'hui, j'étais en train de féliciter la population, la nouvelle génération kenyane responsable, citoyens responsables, que si leurs politiciens leur font du mal, ils se lèvent, ils leur disent. Alors, on va continuer à en parler, et surtout dans la partie francophone. Donc, je voulais critiquer le fait que le Kenya, le président kenyan qui a décidé de collaborer avec les Américains, a décidé d'envoyer la police kenyane en Haïti, alors que chez lui, ça chauffe, alors que chez lui, c'est la révolution, alors que lui-même, il est rejeté par son propre peuple. Et qu'est-ce qu'il a fait en réaction quand son peuple, quand son propre peuple l'a boycotté? Il envoie l'armée tuer sa propre population. Vous vous imaginez ça? Donc, il envoie la police en Haïti, mais il envoie l'armée à sa propre population. Donc, on va en parler de tout ça. Et puis, je vais vous parler d'un de mes professeurs favoris là sur les réseaux, le professeur Nyamsi. Le professeur Nyamsi qui a exposé encore une fois le Kagamistan qui dit qu'il est prêt à faire la guerre au Congo. Vous vous imaginez ça? On va en parler, la famille. Donc, merci d'être là dans la partie français. On est ensemble, You and I Talk Show, avec votre host favori. On est là chaque semaine.